What's up, guys? My name is Justin. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back on iRacing, kind of, sort of, but not really. We are on Tier Maker to once again discuss breaking down and ranking every iRacing track. This is the road course video. If you haven't seen my previous two videos, I ranked every single iRacing car, or at least all the active ones with a couple of fun ones in there. And then the previous video that you saw was every iRacing oval track, dirt and pavement. This is going to be every iRacing road track, dirt and pavement. So we'll see how this goes. Probably going to be another long one. There are a ton of road courses and a lot of varieties. Again, I'll try to click through them, but the whole point of this is I want to talk about them. I want to give my thoughts, my experiences, whether or not I like them, caveats, quirks, whatever, to make this fun. So that's not just me dragging stuff around for 12 minutes and then boom, full list done. I want to make this a talking point, and so that hopefully we can get some good comments and discussion going. Tracks you like, tracks you dislike, tracks you agree with, tracks you don't agree with, and so on. So first of all, thanks to Ethan. He was the one that suggested I do this split oval and road. Otherwise, we'd be here for like 3.5 hours. So big thanks to him for that. But anyways, I hope you enjoy it. Hope it's fun. I think I have everything. There are going to be a couple caveats as far as, some places only have road courses on the legacy version, or it's not a real road course, or, it doesn't exist anymore, or something like that. But I think I have everything that iRacing offers. I think so. Hopefully that's the case. If not, I apologize. Um, Again, some of these I might not exactly remember what they are, so we're just going to have to play it by ear and be patient with me, but hopefully this is enjoyable nonetheless. So, anyways, we'll get right into it. We'll start out with Texas Road Course. This is the Roval. It was run a couple of times in like ALMS or Grand Am or whatever that was back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Unfortunately, there is no modern version of this track. It was not included in the rescan when they updated Texas. But I really like the old version, honestly. There's an infield road course that like street stocks have been to a couple times, and it's actually a good track. I'm going to put and take it or leave it. A nice solid start. It's a fine track. It's not anything special. It kind of feels a lot like some of those old quirky Rovals. There's a Kansas Roval that's quirky, which we'll get to. The old Charlotte Roval pre like rescan and NASCAR coming was kind of quirky. Um, there were a couple other ones that like again IMSA and Grand Am whatever all ran 25, 30 years ago that were kind of quirky, and this is one of those. But it's an okay track. I don't think it's really used for anything, especially now that Old Texas is legacy. But if you enjoy that kind of thing and weird, quirky rovals, that's a good one. Another one of those, again, same category, is going to be the Pocono Roval. Same exact deal. Unfortunately, wasn't included in the updated rescan of Pocono, but I actually like this track quite a bit. It was raced in PCC quite a bit. The reason this isn't in the light category is the kind of infieldy section of Pocono Road is exceptionally narrow, and so it wouldn't really work for any series now, except maybe like Rookie Mazda Cup or 86 Cup, GR Cup, whatever it's called. Um, it worked for PCC because it was just the Solstice and the Mazda at the time. This is back 5, 6, 7 years ago, somewhere in that range. Um, Definitely, unfortunately, wouldn't work for PCC now with the 4 classes and the 36 car grids and all that stuff. So, interesting track, quirky track. If you own Legacy Pocono, I think for a little while everybody was grandfathered into the Legacy content, but it's certainly not that way now. Now it's $3. Don't buy it; it's useless. But if you own Legacy Pocono, give this a whirl. Run a couple laps on the various road courses. There's like a full version that uses the entire, I say the entire oval, the entire triangle with all the infield bits. There's like a west and east and north, whatever. A couple different versions of it, and it's actually a good track. So if you haven't seen it, haven't tried it, go and give that a whirl. Next up, Gateway Road Course. Again, this is another kind of weird, quirky roval. I'm gonna put it in the same spot, take it or leave it. It's not special. I've never raced it in the official. It's very rarely used. It's more of like a track day thing or a club race thing. It's kind of an interesting circuit. The sight lines are terrible for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because all the walls and tire barriers and stuff are all white and so they all blend together. But in weird sunlight and at night and stuff like this, it's an okay track, but it's just not good for competition because it's blind and it's very flat and there's nothing really standoutish that's exciting or anything like that. And turn one's kind of weird and quirky, kind of like old Phoenix Legacy, but we'll get to that as well. So, it's just one of those things. Winton, I'm going to put Winton in Burn in Hell. The reason for that, this track is just terrible. It's too tight, too technical, too narrow. Um, it's actually a semi-fun track to drive around, but racing is terrible. There's no passing zone, especially in slower cars like I usually tend to drive in PCC and stuff. And anything faster, um, like there are passing zones because you can outbrake someone, but you're not going fast enough because the track's too damn short and narrow. So it's just a really quirky track. I'm not a fan. If it didn't exist, I'd be better off, honestly. It's not a terrible layout, but it's just it doesn't work for iRacing, and again, the logic that iRacing people bring to iRacing. So it is what it is. It's not a terrible track. I cannot believe for the life of me that they ever ran supercars here in real life. Granted, supercars 25 years ago or so were a lot slower than they are now, but just not for me. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. Willow Springs, a road course that was just on PCC, but I've never actually driven this. If I could get my mouse to work, there we go. Never driven it. Don't own it. I don't know. People like it. It's not a popular track, but it's one of those tracks that people like if they drive it, and so um, I guess that's fine. I guess it's fun. It's a cool thing to have, especially with rumors that Willow's going to be shut down in the near future. But just not something I've ever partaken in or have any plans to. Wild West, I think it's free now. It's a dirt road course, pretty simple track, one of the rookie level tracks, only like 4 corners. It's okay. Again, I'll take it or leave it. I'm not good at dirt road for the most part, other than basically Crandon and Daytona. But track's okay. I don't hate it. I'm not very good in the Pro 2 Light, which is kind of what I'd race here if I was going to race that. It seems like a fun layout. It's kind of quirky. The last corner is not great. The last corner is very, very difficult, or at least it is for me as someone that's a noob and a novice. But it's an okay track, not a very complex layout. But if you're just looking to get in dirt road, it has like again 4 corners, so not difficult to learn. And obviously dirt jumps are cool, so you might like that if that's your kind of thing. I think it's free content now, so that's a good one to get into to start out with if you're looking at that kind of thing. Laguna Seca. This is a tough one. I'm gonna put it in like, yeah, I'm gonna put it in like. It's a good track because it's not a draft track. It's kind of a medium speed road course, and it's obviously got a lot of legacy and historical significance, especially in the United States. I adored this track in PCC back when the Solstice was still in PCC. This is before some of the more modern international free road courses were released. This was my second favorite free road course behind Summit in the Solstice. Loved it because that car, obviously, with my skill level, I really didn't like draft tracks, or especially big draft tracks like Daytona. About the most draft I could stand in the Solstice was like Okayama level, where there's just like one or maybe two straightaways that really keep you in contention. The rest is twisty bits. This track, not being a draft track, was awesome in the Solstice, especially after it got the big grippy race tire in its last year or two. This track was awesome. Laguna was amazing. Handled very well. It was very flowy. It felt very natural and very fun. But I just really haven't gotten along with it very much since then. I mean, it's fine, but I haven't really found another car that I really gel with it. I think that Proto GT comes here at some point in the near future. Maybe I'm mistaken about that, but that'll kind of be the telltale in the Ford GT2 because obviously they race prototypes and GT cars here in real life, or at least they used to. Maybe they still do. And that'll kind of be a telltale because I pretty much have loved the Ford GT2 everywhere. So if I like it there, that's probably going to be a sign that yes, I still am not an idiot. If I don't like it there, it's like okay, I was just good there in the Solstice and it was a one car thing. And then honestly, I might come back and move it down if I were to come back and adjust this list. So, but right now, because of that, I loved it so much in the Solstice, we'll keep it at like. Watkins Glen, good track. Pretty much everybody that's a road racer on iRacing owns this. Um, again, I'm not a big fan. It's kind of meh. It's kind of boring and bland. They ruined all the character it had when they paved everything and rescanned it, and there's endless runoff now. No punishment like there was when there was grass and gravel traps right next to the racetrack. Now it's just entirely paved, which I get is for safety, but on the sim it really kind of ruins the racing. So I'm gonna put it and take it or leave it. I don't hate it, but it's not my kind of place. A place I don't really like is VIR, so that's going to be our first addition to the don't like category. The main track, this is one of those tracks that I didn't race when I first joined iRacing because it was paid track. This is, I think, one of the original pieces of content when iRacing came out in 2008. And they didn't make it free until like 2023 because nobody cared, nobody bought it anymore. Um, but I took a long time for me. It takes a long time for me. I've noticed if tracks that are start out paid or that were paid when I joined iRacing and are made free later on, I have a really hard time learning and getting to know. That's true of Southern National. It's true of Langley. VIR on the roadside is the best example I can think of, a track that was paid and made free after I joined, because I never learned it with everybody else, and so I had an automatic negative perception of it coming in. It took me a long time to learn it. I didn't figure it out. I'm still not very good there, although I enjoy it somewhat more, the full course. the reason this is a don't like, and honestly, it could be a burn in hell if I was feeling salty about it, is the Grand Course. The Grand Course is freaking terrible. It's awful. I hate it. It's borderline, burn in hell, Winton, Snetterton level. It is the dumbest track ever, and the fact that PCC went there, much less for a 4-hour endurance special event, is just blasphemy. I think it's the dumbest track ever. Too narrow, too technical. Laps are way too freaking long for those cars. It's just terrible. So, full course is okay. I'm not a fan, but it's okay. Grand Course can just die, and the day that that comes back up on the random track rotation for PCC will be a drop week for me because I have no interest. So, yeah, it's okay, but it's not my kind of thing. Tsukuba, again, another good free track. Pretty tight technical circuit, very short track. I'm going to put it and take it or leave it. It's fine. Nothing, again, really stands out about it. I know it's a kind of a cultural place for the Japanese fan base. It's a tight technical circuit. It's kind of a drift circuit in some ways, or it'd be good for drifting, I should say. It also has the Tsukuba 1000 circuit that not very many people know about. It's a nice, really, really small, really tight track, which is actually a lot of fun. I quite enjoy that track also, but it's, it is what it is. So, I don't really know what else to say. It's just kind of good. I've enjoyed some good Cadillac and Kia races there, a lot of good PCC races there, but it's just one of the tracks, and it's somewhere in the middle, so it's going to go and take it or leave it. Thruxton, fairly new release, new scan. Paid track doesn't seem to be very popular as far as I can tell. There's like literally no passing zones here, especially in slow cars. But don't own it, never driven it, won't plan to. It's going in, haven't driven. Suzuka is my newest purchase. I just purchased this. I don't know exactly when you're going to see this video, hopefully before too terribly long, but haven't raced it yet, but it is going to be for GT2 Proto GT week coming up here at the time of recording. So just purchased it, run a couple laps. I do enjoy it. Again, I don't really have a lot of laps around here to make an accurate judgment of it, so it's going to go and take it or leave it for now. But it seems like a good track, so I'm sure it's going to grow on me. Especially again, if things go well, it's going to be, a good track. If things go badly, it'll be a bad track type of thing. But I like it so far. Summit Point is must drive. This is my favorite free road course. It's one of my favorite road courses, full stop. It flows very well. There's the one long straightaway where you can draft and make out braking maneuvers into turn one. And then from the exit of turn one through the kink left-hander, kink right-hander into the hairpin, then the SS section before the last corner. Very technical. You need to be very precise. Tire wear matters. It's very flowy. If you get out of sequence in one part, you're pretty much screwed until you get back around to a longer straightaway. It is just such a great track. I love it. I loved it before I went well there in the Solstice, and then it became my primary Solstice track. And some would say I grinded this track, even though I raced a lot because I loved it. I mean, yes, I gained a lot of iRating from this place, but it's just because it's a great track. Jefferson Circuit as well is one of the tracks that I think it's one of two tracks, and I'll talk about the other one when we get to the K section. Knock Hill, in case I forget about it by the time we get there. One of the two tracks I think Jefferson is that you can run in both directions. So the Jefferson Circuit is very tight. Was much more popular back again 10 plus years ago when the iRacing player base was smaller. People generally raced with more respect pre-COVID. I won't get into that in this video, but you can't really use Jefferson for anything too serious anymore. It used to come up a lot on like Mazda Cup, the original Legends Road Series a decade ago, stuff like that. But the full circuit, definitely one of my favorite tracks. Amazing track. If you haven't driven it, go drive it. It's where I take everybody because it's the track I know best. But when I'm teaching people how to drive road courses, I talked about in the Solstice, excuse me, I usually take them to Summit Point just because it's a place I know very well. It's a pretty inclusive layout. There's a lot of different corner types, and it works well for learning a lot of different basic skills. So Solstice Summit Point, apart from being my favorite car track combo, is where I teach people road courses when I get the opportunity. And if you haven't driven it, I highly encourage you to do so. Sonoma, this might be controversial too. I'm going to put in don't like, and this is partially because it's just, again, it feels like it's a meh track to me. I mean, I like the layout, but it doesn't seem to be anything that jumps off the page. Growing up a NASCAR fan, this hurts me because I liked it a lot more when I didn't know anything about road racing, and it was only one of two road courses with Watkins growing up. But now that I know how many amazing road courses there are around the world and even in the United States, it's just kind of somewhere in the middle. And the reason I don't like it is because for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be very popular on iRacing. I don't know why, but a lot of road series that visit there are pretty dead, and I don't know why. It's a good track. It has a lot of elevation changes people love. It's fine. I don't even think I bothered buying it on the alt now that I think about it, just because it's never very populated, which is fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but it's just kind of in the middle. But when you do want to race it and it's hard to find a race, it's kind of a turnoff. So it's going to go and don't like. Snarriton, is there a category lower than Burn in Hell, or do I have to put it here? Like, can I put it lower? Can I just delete it off the face of the world? This track, I, you all know about the Kia story by now. I've beaten a dead horse by telling that story. Um, Tracks I don't get on well with and don't have good results at, I of course don't like. I've never had a good race here. I've never had a good result here. I've never had fun here. I've never felt like I learned or improved anything here. It's my least favorite road course, at least right now, until they release something better, an iRacing super speedway style road course or something. I hate the track. It makes no sense. There are no good passing zones on the 200 circuit, which is my favorite of the three, if you can even say I have a favorite. But I don't enjoy the track. I don't get it. I'm not good there. I don't have fun there. It's not flowy. It feels choppy. And then to top it off, I usually run like shit. And again, that's probably part of my own fault for hating it from the start. But it's just there's no other words. It's the worst track on iRacing for actually having a fun race, and that's pretty sad. But it's okay. Silverstone, or sorry, Silverstone, since I'm American. Silverstone. I'm gonna put in take it or leave it. It's a good track. I like the legacy version. I like the rescan version as well. Again, nothing special about it. I know it's a hugely significant track in British racing culture, road racing culture, and history, but I mean, it's the home of Formula One. Geez, so. But again, not being into Formula cars and top level stuff like that, and not being British or English, it's a good track. It's a fine track. It's not for me, but again, it's just one of those places where if it comes on a schedule, happy to run it. I enjoy it, but it's not something I ever seek out or keep my eyes peeled for when the schedules are released or anything like that. It's a fine track. I like it, but not top tier, but also not hatred. It's just kind of there. So it's a fine track. Sebring, I like. I like Sebring a lot actually. Very difficult track, bumpy track. I've had some great races here. Steele and I 2 years ago now, I think. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Last year. Won the HPD, or not the HPD, what the hell is it called? The GTP LMDH of our split of the Sebring 12 hours. Easy for me to say. And then, what happened happened. But anyways, we won the 12 hours, which was my second overall win in an endurance event after the 2018 Petit Le Mans, which I'm sure I will reference when we get to Petit Le Mans in a couple tracks. But great track, a lot of fun. Technical sections, turns 16 and 17 are both very difficult. Actually, the whole like 13, 14, 15, 16 section there, I usually struggle at. I don't have good flow through there, but I managed to get through there. The first half of the track is great. The club circuit is amazing when you cut out that 13, 14, 15, 16 section. Again, 17 is very difficult. It's very bumpy. If there's a sunset, you're driving right into the sunset. It's very hard. Turn one is scary. The commitment you need through there. So good track, challenging track. I do enjoy it in pretty much everything I drive, and definitely a track that is known around the world and is a good racing venue. So we'll take that. I assume this is Sandown. It appears to be Sandown. I've never driven Sandown in the sim. I love Sandown in real life. The Sandown 500 is one of my favorite supercars events as a non-serious supercar fan. So I've not, those of you that don't know, a quick side story, I guess. Um, I started watching supercars more seriously about 10 years ago. It was the year before Van Gisbergen joined Triple Eight, so I think it was 10 years ago. Um, and again, I was just I usually generally vote and am a fan for life of whoever's running well at the time I start watching a series. That's why I was a Nico Rosberg fan. I've talked about the story of how I became a Matt Kenseth fan before, so on and so forth. Um, and so yeah, I was a Jamie Whincup fan. And the Sandown 500, I think, is one of the cooler events. I think the track is really cool. That S's section at the end of the backstretch is amazing. Seeing those guys go through their maximum attack in a supercar is a great thing to see. But never driven on iRacing again because it's kind of a lesser known Australian track that it's not a grade one Formula One circuit or anything, so a lot of people don't know it. Not hugely populated, just kind of meh. But I love it in real life, but never driven on the sim. Saxon Ring, I assume that's how you say that. Saxon Ring is next. Don't really know literally anything about this track at all. I literally know nothing about it. Never driven it. Not going to own it. I wish I could say more, but I don't know anything about it, so it's going in haven't driven. Rudskogin, I believe is how you pronounce this, but it'll always be Rudskogin. Inside joke for that. But Rudskogin, I think, is a must-drive track. It's not the raciest track ever. It's a free track, which is awesome because otherwise I'm sure it would be a ghost town because nobody knows where the hell this is. But I think it's a great track. I really enjoy it. It's grown on me. It's not so much fun in the Kia from front wheel drive. It is a pretty difficult track to pass on. There's really one semi-good passing zone, but again, in slower cars that makes it tough. But at the same time, it does reward you being bold and being precise and making good moves. I love it. It's not an A plus track, I guess. I'm putting it in must drive because it's a free track and because it's got beautiful scenery and it's technical and it's better than so many other tracks on the list. Is basically why it's a must drive. Something has to go in must drive. So I'm gonna put it up there. I love it. It's a good track again, A minus or A, and it teaches you a lot, especially with precision and stuff like I mentioned. So I like it, but it's not for everybody, but that's okay. So it's going in must drive for me. Rockingham Road Course, I'm just going to put it in take it or leave it. I include this because there is a Roval at Rockingham, technically. I've never seen it in the official series pop up ever in a million years, even once. Probably because it's really tight, it's really technical, and it's not a good course. Honestly, I drove it in test session for FTSS once several years ago. It's not a good track. It's take it or leave it. It'll never go on official schedule, I'm almost certain, unless there's like purely a dead series community vote for Mission R or something where it goes on. I don't know, but it's not a great track. It's not a hugely popular oval either, so that doesn't help. It's just kind of there, and it's a road course. Road Atlanta, I'm going to put in like. I'm not great here, honestly. That turn 2, 3, 4 section with the really sharp right-hander and then the S's downhill section, I'm not that great at, and I've never been great at it. But again, like I mentioned earlier, we did win the 2018 Petite 12-hour, or sorry, the Petite Le Mans 10-hour, whatever it is, top split overall. We won back in the the Chevrolet Corvette C7 DP. In the fall of 2018. That was an amazing race. We won top split because we ran the Australian server, and I think there were only 4 splits for some reason of that. And somehow we ended up in top split, probably thanks to my iRating. And we ran well, but we weren't going to win until the leader had some trouble, and then another guy didn't meet driver change fair share or something, and so they had to put the slow guy in for a couple hours. I don't remember what all happened, but I ended up getting really, really sick during that race. Actually, I started the race as I usually tended to do, and still to this day, I start the enduros because I have a ton of experience and am good at bringing tires up temperature and managing traffic and avoiding dangerous situations, and especially in like 10, 12, 24-hour races, that's what you want. That's probably not the strategy to have me start because I'm not aggressive enough for like a 4 or 6 hour race. But for anything 10 plus like Petite Le Mans, someone with my skill and experience is probably good to start your enduro team. That's just a top tip for you, a freebie. But yeah, I like the track. It's a decent layout. I really like the club circuit. The short version is very fun here, and obviously I've had some decent results here and go on well. So I like the track, and again, it's a pretty popular track, so that's good. You can almost always find splits here, especially in the really popular stuff. I mean, GR Cup has like 50 splits here. Mazda Cup, GT3 fixed. All the popular series that you know of will go official every single time slot at Road Atlanta, so that's always good. Road America, my home road course, about an hour southeast of me, roughly. I'm going to put it must drive. Again, not just the bias of the home track aside and home state. I think it's a really, truly great track. I hope that they continue to show it some love. I hope they get a better rescan. I can't remember if they rescanned it or just refreshed the art, but it did get repaved about 2 years ago. It's an amazing track. It is also the only track I've ever driven on in a competitive event in real life. Not really a competitive event, but like a track day with my car Bluey. So we'll see what comes of this. Hope, fingers crossed, that we can get back out there this year with Bluey and do another event at Road America or 2 or 3. We'll see. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But Road America is a great track. I think it's an awesome track. A lot of people find it boring because it's just a lot of straightaways and 90-degree corners. But again, home track bias aside, I think that's good. That provides a lot of big brake zones where you can overtake people and outbrake people and make moves and maneuver through traffic if you need to. It does have some scary corners. I mean, the braking for turn 5 is very scary. The carousel can be scary. Excuse me, the kink especially can be very scary. So it does have a lot of unique corners and some character to it. And it would still be a like or an A or A plus track, but the fact that it's my home track and a track that I love visiting in person a couple times a summer to go watch good racing in various series there, it's gotta be a must drive. I think it's a really special place to me, obviously, for my childhood and my real life, and getting to combine that with my sim racing. I never pass up an opportunity to drive in the sim at Road America. Red Bull Ring. I am gonna put Red Bull Ring. Um, I'm gonna put the Red Bull Ring in Take It or Leave It. Again, there's gonna be a lot of tracks that are kind of in this range, especially, but in Take It or Leave It, because a lot of road courses I like, but I just I just like road racing in general, so that's probably not a great metric, but it's going to go in there. The off tracks are the biggest thing here, and the slowdowns. It's a very, very touchy track. I'm still salty about a league race Dave and I had here, where we got pretty screwed by some things that went on in a GT4 car here in a league race. But I like the track. It's a good track. It's a flowing track. Obviously, it's a track everybody knows from Formula One, formerly back pre-Red Bull. Formerly, this was known as the A1 Ring in Austria. But anyways, so the Red Bull Ring, good track. I don't hate it. It's a good track, but you just have to be very aware of picking up a lot of incidents and slowdowns and get frustrated by that more than you do by racecraft or corner types or anything like that. This is a track that'll frustrate you 1x at a time, as I would say. So good track though. Portland, one of the brand new scans to iRacing. Um, it looks like a great track. This is up in the Pacific Northwest, obviously, in Portland. And it's a track that's been probably a long time coming because IndyCar's been coming here a long time. NASCAR was here in the Truck Series like 30 years ago and then hasn't been back for a long time. But now Xfinity's been there the last couple of years. So with the NASCAR game coming out, this was all we expected to be scanned and released, and that's come to fruition the last couple of weeks. But I'm not going to buy it, haven't bought it, haven't ever driven it. I assume it's very good. Seems like a good match of technical corners and fast kind of sweeping corners and brake zones. So seems like a fun track, but again, not going to purchase it. Phoenix Raceway again is going to be, this is the legacy version, has a road course, which I think is actually a pretty good road course. I like it a lot. I'm going to put in take it or leave it though because it's on the legacy version, not the modern updated version, whatever. But I think it's a good road course. It'll pop up occasionally in PCC. It's on the free track vote because it is free track, thankfully, as legacy content. Free legacy content, that is. And so at some point it'll be in PCC, I'm sure, just by random chance. But pretty fun track, especially if you like kind of twisty technical stuff, and it does have a couple of oval corners, so makes it interesting. It's a nice track. It's a good track to learn on and a good kind of entry level track. Next up, Phillip Island, a track in Australia. I don't know any more about it. I've watched a lot of MotoGP and stuff here over the years. Supercars used to race here. I don't think they do anymore. But I've never driven it. I've never raced it, never purchased it, don't plan to. Again, just not really my thing. I don't really care about the supercars that much or anything like that as far as sim racing goes. So I'm sure it's a great track, but never driven it. Alton Park, I like Alton Park. We're going to put Alton Park up here in like, and the reason for that being that I just, for whatever reason, I like this track. I especially like the Foster's layout, which a lot of people don't like actually. A lot of people like the Hislop chicane, or I think what's the other one, the Britain chicane, or the Island hairpin. I think all of the layouts are pretty good, but it's a pretty technical track, not the easiest track to pass at, especially. It's actually a pretty difficult track to pass as I'm running through a lap in my head. But the last corner is a lot of fun. It's a quirky track. It's not like a lot of tracks. It's a very British style kind of club road course, but that makes it perfect for PCC. I'm sure it's not nearly as fun or as calming and smooth going as it is there in like IMSA or in GT3 or something that fast. But for the stuff I drive, PCC stuff that I have a lot of laps on, it's quite fun. So I like it. Oran Park, though, I do not like. Oran Park is a terrible track. Again, another track, rest in peace to a shopping mall or a housing development or whatever this became. It's unfortunate because it's, I think, a cool track, but um, the kind of the crossover figure eight bridge thing is an interesting twist that you don't see in a lot of tracks, especially these days. But it's just not for me. I actually like the short version much better than the full version. That kind of full version doesn't really vibe with me, even in slow cars. Never got on here very well. I've run Cadillacs and Kias and Solstices and other stuff here. I ran Nibon's league race here in the rain in the Mazda. That was on the short track though. It's fine, but it's just not a place again that I've ever gotten along well with and had a lot of good results at or fell in love with. It's okay. And again, another track. I don't know how the hell they ever race supercars here. It's so tight, so narrow. There's one straightaway that leads into a ridiculous turn 1-2 complex, and it's just I'm sure it's terrifying at 150 because it's terrifying at 90. But I don't know how they ever race supercars here in real life. But it's not an awful track by any means, just not in the top half of free tracks for me. Okayama, though, is in the top half of free tracks for me. This would have been must drive before the addition of some of the more recent free tracks like Rudskajin and some other ones that are coming up. This was my third favorite of the free road courses back when I ran in the Solstice a lot in PCC. Good track, not the most complicated track by any means, so it's pretty straightforward. A lot of people know this as the last race that Ayrton Senna saw the finish of back when it was known as AIDA back in the 90s. I think that Michael Schumacher might have won both F1 races that were here in 94 and 95, if I recall correctly. Maybe that's not correct, though, in Benetton. And it's a good track. It's just got a couple longer straightaways to get some draft, but it also has a lot of technical corners. 3 hairpins here, which I think is probably one too many, but I understand at some point you gotta have corners that get you back where you need to be for the start of the lap. So not a bad track by any means. I like it a lot. I don't ever consider myself a lover of Okayama anymore, especially now that there are some better options in my mind. But it's a good track. I like it. Nordschleife, or the Nürburgring, I should say. The Nordschleife is a must drive for sure. Even the GP circuit I enjoy and is fun. It's not quite as good in my opinion as the Nordschleife. Nordschleife, obviously, everybody knows, is a very special track. It's essentially a countryside drive through the mountains at 150 miles an hour with ridiculous numbers of corners and places that you can die and literally die. And it's a great track. Obviously, it's very, very difficult to learn, as Gavin showed us all back in Pro GT Week 1 last season. Um, but super rewarding if you know this track, whether you learn it on Gran Turismo or Forza like I did back on Forza 4, or even if you learn it through iRacing. It's a track that I learned back on Forza 4 and fell in love with, even though it was very arcadey. Obviously, that was well over a decade ago, pushing 15 years ago now, I guess, Forza 4. But I've loved it since then. I could do it with my eyes closed. I love driving here in the dark. I even like driving here in the rain. It's just such a fun track. Rain night might not be so fun, but another one of those tracks that I've had a lot of good enduro success at. We finished fifth here in, I believe, 2016, but it might have been 2017. We finished fifth in the Nürburgring 24. Myself, Adam, and Brian, and maybe someone else. But great track. I love it. It's very rewarding. If you haven't learned it, learn it. Even if you're not good here or don't feel like you can make it through a race with 0x or anything like I try to always do, learn it. It's an amazing track. It's so much fun. And it's definitely a track that you get through a race and you feel really, really accomplished about it. So definitely go give that one a look and you'll enjoy yourself there. New Jersey Motorsports track. I think this is the only tech track that's left. Everything else, I think they've either rescanned or finished or whatever. Again, this was kind of before my time or around the time I joined iRacing, but I've never owned it, never driven it. I don't know anybody that buys this because, again, it's an incomplete track. You can't even use it in officials, even if you wanted to. But it is there for, I assume, hosted sessions, but certainly for test driving. I don't know actually about Tech Track. Someone can answer that for me. It's been on the sim longer than I have. If you can do hosted events at the Tech Track in New Jersey, if people own it, which nobody does. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about that one. But next up is New Hampshire. Good road course. I'm going to put and take it or leave it though, because again, it's nothing special. I like it. It's got some good configurations. I like that you can run either set of oval corners or neither. And then kind of the middle section that goes outside the backstretch is a lot of fun. I really like the track, but it's not for everybody. There's not a lot to it. Again, it's not some spectacular, mouth-watering, world-ending, amazing road course. It's just kind of good. I enjoyed, especially in slower cars. I actually had a lot of fun there in USF 2000 when I first bought that car several seasons ago, and I've continued to have good fun there. It's a track I always try to get a race in at if it's something that I like in a car I like. That's not always, but that's often the case. As I find, USF or something along those lines there, and try to give it a whirl because it is a pretty good track and I do enjoy it. So that's that. Mount Washington. I don't really know what to do with Mount Washington. I'm going to put in don't like because it's not a real road course. It's a hill climb or hill descent, I guess. I bought it to do those challenges and I enjoyed it. It was kind of a hot lap thing. I should probably go give that another whirl with the Subaru now that I have an upgraded PC and upgraded graphics and stuff, because I could not make it up or down to save my life without either falling off the cliff and doing all this stuff or dying or whatever. So I probably need to go try to relearn it again and figure out how I can get faster up and down that to try to beat the stupid Pastrana thing that I want you to do for the record. Because I haven't done that in quite a while, so I need to do that and get back into that. I'm going to add that to my list of stuff to do during week 13 at the end of the season. So I don't like it. It's not a real road course. I mean, it's just on here because it had to go somewhere. It's not an oval, obviously, but it's okay. So Oschersleben is next. I love Oschersleben. Again, that's probably not how it's actually pronounced, but that's how we're pronouncing it. I love it. It's one of the better free tracks that's come out, again, with Roots Cogen recently. Not a lot of people know about this track. This is the track that everybody knows from. The guy who designed this first corner needs to be taken into a dark room and beaten out the head or whatever. Good track, though. I like it. It's technical, but again, it's not a huge just draft track. There are some straights to keep you in touch with people, but you can get away from other people with the draft here. It's got some nice chicanes, some awkward chicanes for sure, but a lot of fun flowing corners, different corner types. A triple left-hander into the right hand kind of hairpinny thing into the fast chicane is a great section. When you get it right, it's a terrible section when you get it wrong. But I love it. It's a great track. It's again a great learning track, a great teaching track. It's It's good because it's kind of a quirky track that nobody, unless you were familiar with it being local or followed the series that went here or something. As an American, I didn't know anything about it until it was scanned, and I fell in love with it. So I think it's great. Again, I enjoy it. I race as often as I can when it comes around on PCC or USF or whatever. I've done number of videos there and the Cadillac and other stuff. So I think it's great. It's not for everybody, but I think it's great. Motegi. Motegi is an interesting one because people seem to not really like this, but they proclaim that they love this. I drove it a lot in Forza 4, of course. It's the East, West, and the full circuit are all in Forza 4 way back in the day, again, 15 years ago. Um, I think it's fine. I think it's great, but I've never actually driven it on iRacing, so it's going to go onto there. I assume it's good, but I don't know that for sure, actually. Let's see how many. We got quite a ways to go yet, but how are we doing on time? 35 minutes. We're doing okay. We're going to try to beat the 1 hour 15 or whatever the oval one was. I'm trying to click through these a little faster. I don't know how many we have left, but we're doing okay. Anyways, Mount Panorama's up next. Bathurst, commonly known, but technically the mountain is Bathurst, right? No, it's Mount Panorama. The track is in Bathurst. Is that how it works? But it's Mount Panorama, but it's commonly referred to as Bathurst. I like Mount Panorama. I think it's a great track. It's not the best track in the world. I like it. It's got the mountain section from like what is it? I'm blanking on corner names now. I always mess this up, but from the first right-hander at the top of the hill after turn two, um, what the hell? The cutting, is that the left-hander like turn three? Anyways, from the cutting all the way to like Forest Elbow at the tail end of the lap before Conrad Straight down into the chase. That's the most exhilarating section of the racetrack, arguably anywhere on sim racing or anywhere in the world. It's such a good group of corners. It's, again, it's flowing. You have to be precise. You have to be brave. It's scary. You get to go right next to the wall, but it's so rewarding when you get it right, and it's so fun. So again, it's not for everybody. Some very slow cars there kind of suck because if you just tag onto the toe with the person in front of you, just wait for the last lap and down Conrad, you pass them and you win. But it makes it interesting. So good track. I think I got my very first Jeddah win there. I'm trying to think. I know I won there in the Jeddah early in my Jeddah career after I bought the car before it came free. This was several years ago, of course, but it might have been Road America. I don't remember, but it's a good track nonetheless. So I like Mount Panorama. Mid Ohio, we'll put it in take it or leave it. I like Mid Ohio. It's a fun track, not the best track. I bought it because NASCAR Xfinity went there about 8, 9, 10 years ago. That's when I bought it. I think 2016 or so, maybe 2017. Doesn't really matter. But I like it in stock cars. I like it in road course stuff. It's a good track. Um, Again, not for everybody. It's not anything special. I'd say a lot of people dislike it. It's another one of those places like Sonoma where good track, but it can be pretty dead. I like it a lot. It's got some good quirks, some good corners, some good elevation change. I think there's a lot to like about it, but it's not anything special, so it's just good to go there. Hell is technically a rallycross track, but I think there's a road course, someone told me, or a partial road course, or I don't know. But regardless, I don't own it, never driven it, never will, so it goes in haven't driven. Long Beach, a lot of people love this. This is Casey Kerwin's favorite track. Again, a lot of people love this. A lot of people hate it, specifically the starts with the hairpin corner, especially in multi-class when you're leaving gaps and stuff. But um, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it. I've never driven it in anything. I think I drove it in Forza 7. If it was on Forza 7, correct me if I'm wrong, because my brother had Forza 7 when I was in college. And so when I came back over Christmas break one time, we were playing that and it seemed fine. Maybe I'm mistaken about that, but I don't have it on the sim. Probably won't ever, unless for some reason I need it for PCC or something, but it's going to go in there for now. Lime Rock. I'm going to put in take it or leave it. Sorry again, Gavin. I know this is your home road course, but it's a good track, a little too short for my liking. No real A+ corners, and the corner names are hilarious because they're all named like right-hander, left-hander, uphill, downhill, big break, turn one, last turn. Like it's hilarious how they name the corners here. But um, again, it's a free track, which is great. The Legacy version, the 2008, and the rescan, both are fine. I like them both, but nothing special. Not top tier, but definitely not bottom tier. So just kind of somewhere in the middle. Las Vegas road course, I'm going to put in don't like. The Roval's not great. It's nothing special. Again, IMSA or whatever pre-IMSA was, Grand Dam, American Le Mans, whatever it was, ran here 25 years ago or so a couple times, I think. Fine track, quirky track. The infield road course is nothing special. They use it for the infield road course they use for the like Porsche or not Porsche, the Speedway driving experience thing, whatever. If you go to Vegas and like rent a Ferrari type of thing, whatever, you get to drive it on the Vegas infield track. So that's fine. It's a good course. Just it's not for me. It's nothing special. Again, the Roval is never used. The infield road course is almost never used. I didn't know you can't even do rolling starts there. It's just not something that's good. You'll never see it on an official schedule probably, so it goes and don't like. Um, Not kill. I mentioned the other track that you can run in forwards and reverse with Summit Jefferson. I don't know where this is. I assume it's in the UK somewhere. Never driven it, never will. It's okay. Yeah, never driven it. Kansas Roval. I like Kansas Roval, but I'm going to put it in take it or leave it. Again, nothing special. Kind of a boring roval. This is like as boring of a roval as it gets. You turn off a turn one just past pit exit, go through a mini chicane, you go down to a long hairpin, come right back down a long straightaway, and then you're taking like a mini chicane into a left-hander, and you enter the oval like in turn two of the oval track. You enter back onto the oval, and you drive the oval all the way around back to turn one and pit entry. So it's a very basic, simple road course. It's a fun track. I enjoy driving it. FTSS ran there once several years ago, and it was a lot of fun. But again, nothing special to it. You'll never probably see it unless it gets voted into a schedule. Maybe it'll get on a PCC schedule. Maybe it'll be on, kind of one of those clubby type schedules, GR Cup. I don't know. But it's been on a couple of schedules. It's been on the IMSA schedule once or twice before. Because again, IMSA did run here, I believe, or again, Grand Am, American Le Mans, whatever. Like 25 years ago, they ran here. I think right the first year that Kansas was open, which was 2001, they might have ran here. But regardless, I think it's fine. I enjoy it, but it's not for everybody, and it's not special. You'll never see it in officials, so it goes there. Homestead Road. Homestead Road I really like actually. Both versions actually with the chicane and with NASCAR 3 and 4. I think it's a great track. Again, not the most popular track in the world, but it's raced a couple times in PCC, a couple times in Global. I've run it, and I ran Nivon's League, had that great battle with Bryce back in the rain here, which was awesome. And I think it's a great track. I think it's a lot of fun. It's got, again, a couple different varieties of corners, a really technical first sector, and then you got a couple of fast corners, and then you have the oval section if you have the oval 3 and 4, or you have a really fast entry into the infield, and then a really tight chicane to end the lap if you have the infield section. And I just think it's a great track. Again, going to go unloved, I'm sure, and a lot of people will disagree with me, but I think it's one of the better road courses on iRacing, especially as far as rovals go, so I quite enjoy it. Fuji, track I don't own, track with the longest straight in Japan, I believe. Um, Never driven there, don't know anything about it really, other than that Jeremy Clarkson drove the Nissan GTR there in Top Gear about 17 years ago, whenever that was. Um, let's see, it hosted the Japanese Grand Prix one year, maybe 2007. The first, it might have been Lewis Hamilton's rookie year, it might have been 2007. But no longer does that. I don't know what races here. I don't know anything about it. Don't own it on the sim. Dyington Park, again, same deal. This is Ayrton Senna's Lap of the Gods in F1 93 in the McLaren, his final year at McLaren. He started like fifth. He passed, I think, Carl Wendlinger, Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill in the Williams, and Alan Prost, who would go on to win the world title in the Williams in 93. And that was kind of his wet lap, his last hurrah moment in F1, really his last star moment as far as I'm concerned, again, as someone that wasn't born yet. But that's Dyington Park. Jimmy Broadbent's won here in Praga Cup. And that's really all I know about it. Never driven it, don't own it on the sim, probably never will. Again, it's not my kind of thing, not a place that you see pop up on a ton of schedules. Motorland Aragon, I don't know anything about this track again. A semi-recent scan, but don't know anything about it, don't know where it is, don't own it, don't plan to. Jerez, which I believe is in Spain. Um, Again, this has hosted some F1 races. Jacques Villeneuve, I believe, won the 97 championship here, and that battle with Schumacher where Brundle, you hit the wrong part of him, Michael, at the end of the one corner. That's all I really know about it. Other than that, nobody can pronounce Jerez, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing it incorrectly as well. So if you're Spanish, I apologize. I believe it's supposed to be pronounced Jerez with a V at the end, but like a V, which I can't do with an English accent. So um, but everybody says Jerez and that it's Jerez or Jerez or whatever. So good track though. I've heard it's good. It seems like it's a lot of fun to watch on TV, but haven't driven the sim, don't own it, don't know what it is. This is Montreal because I think this is the Wall Champions. Montreal, take it or leave it. I like it. Again, another not very popular track at all. Great track though. NASCAR went here for a number of years. I really like it. It's got some good corners, some bad corners. The thing about this track that most people say is, well, every single corner except the hairpin and except the first couple of corners, and even you can make the argument about the first corner. It's all just chicanes. Like it's all just right, left, or left, right chicanes. And people don't like that. Again, I kind of tend to agree with them, but I just still think it's a good track. I think it's a fun track. It's good in the right cars. The long straights for some of it provide good opportunities for passing if you're in multi-class, but I think it's a good track. It is what it is. Bark River dirt road course. I don't like it. Drove here a couple times when I tried to get more into Pro 2 and Pro 4. It's fine. It's not bad, but it's not as flowy. It's not as fun in my opinion as like a Wild West or a Crandon, especially Crandon being my home dirt road course, which we'll get to here in a little bit. I'm sure it's on here somewhere. But again, not a bad track. It's just not for me. I didn't enjoy it. I drove it a handful of times a couple years ago and just never liked it, never flowed with it, never vibed with it. So I'm gonna put in don't like Barber. I do like Barber, but again, it's a chronically underappreciated track. Not a lot of people like it. Hopefully, it gets on a PCC schedule through the vote one of these years. Um, I think it's a good track. Again, not a super well-known track. It's in Alabama, so it's Ethan's home country. I don't understand why there's a big ass spider outside that one hairpin. That kind of bumps it down level automatically, just having a big ass spider there, honestly. But good track. Again, not the most racy track in the world, not a bunch of good passing zones, only about two or three good passing zones, really. But the downhill chicane is really cool, and a couple of good corner complexes are really unique. So good track, just kind of underappreciated that most people don't enjoy, but I tend to like it. I've had some good races there. Interlagos in Brazil. There's another name for it. Oh, uh, Jose Carlos, whatever, Autodromo. Apologies, Brazilians. I don't know how to pronounce that, but liked it on the F1 games. It's fine, good track. Never been a favorite of mine, which is why I didn't buy it when I got iRacing. Didn't buy it when it was on the sim. Never been a track for me, but it's a fun track, I'm sure, and provides great racing in real life in Formula One. Monza, controversial again. Never driven it. Not for me. It's not a kind of track I fall in love with. The first chicane can be death. I'm sure the no chicanes version is absolutely insane. I love watching people that drive there, especially the combined version with the oval. The combined version with the oval with no chicanes has been used a couple times in like Proto GT and stuff, and I think that that's amazing, amazing to watch. But never driven there on the sim for me. Imola, again, a track I've never driven on iRacing, don't own it. This is one of Ethan's favorite road courses, actually, Imola. Obviously, it's infamous for the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix and the events surrounding the deaths of Roland Ratzenberger and Aaron Senna. But on the sim, great track. Jeremy Clarkson and Richard Hammond and James May drove what? They drove an Aventador, a um, what the hell was Richard's car? Some British thing that I'm just skipping me right now. It wasn't a Mosler, it was something else. And then May drove a McLaren MP412C around here to try to beat the Stig's lap in a 458 Ferrari. And that was one of the better episodes and chunks of an episode of Top Gear that I remember from my childhood. So really cool track, obviously a track that will forever be ingrained in the minds of F1 fans, especially people a little older than myself. But not a track I've ever driven on iRacing. Auto Club. I'm going to go controversial again, although this doesn't exist anymore as a real track. And a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people are mixed feelings about the oval. I'm putting it in like. I think this is one of the better road courses on the sim, honestly. It's got a really great technical middle sector in the infield, and then you do still have some oval to make some passes, and you actually have to brake or lift in most cars for NASCAR 1 and 2 through the oval, which is rare for a roval like this. It's got enough build up on the straightaway. Usually the corner comes first, and then you have your straightaway. Even like Kansas, you usually don't have to brake, but good track, fun track, technical track, good mix of a track. It's going to go unloved and underappreciated, but I'm a big fan of it. Again, maybe it'll get on a PCC schedule through a vote at some day, but we'll see how it works out. I think it's a great track. It's probably not going to be used very often, especially now the track is defunct, but I think it's a cool track. This is Circuito Marco Simoncelli, whatever, Misano. Obviously, Marco Simoncelli passed in 2011, the week after Dan Weldon, I think, died at Vegas. Um, I think that was the weekend. I think it was late September or October of 2011. But anyways, they named this track after him in Misano. Don't know anything else about it. Don't know where it is. Never driven it. Never heard of it. Um, but I've never driven it on the sim. Didn't plan to buy it. Wild Horse Pass, which is now Firebird, another track. This is the only dirt road course I think that I don't own. Just again, I never got into Pro 2 or Pro 4 enough especially after I didn't like Bark River. Excuse me, after I didn't like Bark River. The next one that I was going to purchase that was on the list was Wild Horse, which is now Firebird in Arizona. I've actually driven past that in real life on my way to Tucson when I was there with my parents. We went to see where my parents built their first house in Tucson after they got married before they moved to Wisconsin, and passed by that, and I didn't realize that's what it was until I was like, oh, that's Firebird Raceway, cool. But anyways, good track, cool track to see in person briefly on the highway, I guess. It's not that close to the highway, but anyways, did technically see it in person with my own two eyes. Never driven on the sim though, don't know if it's good. Dirt road people probably love it. I don't know. Um, Indy Raceway Park, this is a rallycross only circuit, which is rare for this list. It's got the oval, obviously, but it has a rallycross track in the middle. I actually really like the rallycross track, but because it's just a rallycross track and no real road course, I think it'd be a great road course if they took out the dirt, took out the jumps, and it could be a cool track. It'd be very tight, very technical, obviously, but it could be cool. There are tighter and more technical tracks on the sim, so why not? But obviously not a real thing, even though there is a road course here in real life. They used it for Fast Masters back in '93, where they ran those Jaguar XKRs with all the 50 plus former race car drivers and stuff, and it was a disaster. They wrecked like $10 million worth of Jaguar, um, whatever, the X220, XJ220, is that what it's called? They wrecked a bunch of those, and a bunch of people that were really old and washed won. I think one of the Unzers won it. Maybe Bobby Unser won overall. Disaster of a thing. But anyways, that was hosted here at the road course. But obviously it's not scanned on iRacing that way. But it's a fine track. The rallycross track I actually enjoy. Um, it's probably top half of the rallycross tracks, but it's somewhere in the middle. I don't love it. I don't adore it, but it's a fine track. The Joker lap is really, really awkward though, and spits you right out into the racing line at a terrible angle. That's the only downside to it. But the rest of it's pretty fun, so I enjoy it as a rallycross track. Circuit of the Americas, um, I don't like it. I mean, it's fine, but the downside for me at this place is that the track limits are awful, and especially in stock cars where, there are four major dates a year here, whatever. There's like MotoGP, there's IndyCar, there's IMSA, and there's NASCAR. Oh, and there's F1. I forgot about F1. So I guess there's five major dates, but there's no track variation for stock cars where you can get away with using all the pavement. It's a one extra slowdown or whatever, and I think that's a mistake because that track could be really good if you were allowed to carry more corner speed and use more of the pavement. Like if it's paid, you should be able to use it, especially if the real world uses it in their series. But it's a fine track, nothing special. I never fell in love with it when it was built and released in 2012, and obviously it was scanned on iRacing later. And it's fine track, but never fell in love with it. So it's just kind of in the middle. Not a huge fan of it. Barcelona, I like the track a lot. I haven't driven on it very much. I'm going to put in take it or leave it. Fun track, club circuit's fun. I like it on F1 games. Don't have a lot of seat time on iRacing, and I like it. I like that they took away that last Mickey Mouse chicane for the full GP circuit or whatever. But it's just kind of there. I like it, but it's just kind of there, so it is what it is. How are we doing on time here? Well, time check. 51 minutes. We're doing okay. We're getting down to it. We got the last like 20 or so here to go. Atlanta road course. This is another one. Like Phoenix, like Texas, only has the road course on the legacy version. I think it's a good road course. It's nothing special. We had some great races there in PCC back when this is on the PCC schedule several years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It's fine. Nothing special. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And if you don't like the oval, don't buy it for the road course, especially since it's very rarely, if ever, used. But it does have rallycross tracks also, which is why it's going to go and take it or leave it. They're good rallycross tracks. Again, they're in the middle somewhere. I enjoy them. The dirt hairpin turn is kind of a pain, but the rest of it is a pretty good circuit, and I enjoy it, so it's going to go and take it or leave it. Indianapolis, I don't like very much. It's definitely not the kind of track that I vibe with. It doesn't have a very flowy feeling. In implementing the chicane, which they just got semi recently on iRacing, well overdue. They just got that, I don't know what, about 2 or 3 years ago. That's what turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 maybe. That little chicane that cuts out that weird hairpin. That was definitely a big improvement to the track, but still feels kind of quirky and follow the leader other than the big notable straightaways. And if it wasn't Indianapolis, if this track was in, Kansas or, the UK or Germany or something, nobody would love it because it wouldn't be special. But the fact that it's at Indianapolis, I think is what makes it special. And it's not a bad track. It's just, I've never been a fan. I don't think it's got anything special to it. And it's just kind of there. I'm curious to see what the iRacing special event continues to be for that track. It seems like they're trying to incorporate it more into being a very special event, and so I'm curious what they're going to come up with for this year for that, but never been my cup of tea. Hungaro Ring, never been a huge fan in real life. Wasn't a huge fan on on the F1 games. Never bought it, never interested. It's kind of a track that, again, doesn't really have any real passing zones, especially in faster cars or downforce cars. Really just the front stretch in turn one, which kind of sucks, but people that like it or are big F1 fans say it's great and love it, so all the power to them. Belle Isle, never going to buy it. Again, not a big street course guy in general, but this track just feels, I don't know. I've watched videos here. Obviously, everybody knows the guy in the Corvette pace car several years ago that wrecked off turn two, which is hilarious. But never bought on sim, never driven it. It's not even a real track anymore. They don't use it. They race some other street course in Detroit, which I think might be worse if I remember correctly. But Never for me, never bought it, never interested. Daytona road course, I'm going to put in like. I don't love it, but I really do like it. It's a great track. Obviously, the Daytona 24 is a signature event, but it's good in a lot of cars, really. The only exception being really slow stuff like PCC, where it's just a draft track, essentially. But the moto circuit's even good for that. The moto circuit at Daytona is really good to try to break up that draft a little bit. You still have the section after the bus stop chicane, or the Lamar chicane, I guess it's called now, back to turn one. I wish there was a version with the moto chicane and the NASCAR chicane off the exit NASCAR 4, because that would really break up the draft and make it interesting, and that would be an interesting version I'd like to see. Unfortunately, they don't have that. You either got to take the full version with the NASCAR chicane or the moto version with the full run from the bus stop to the start finish line. So definitely a draft track, but it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I run the Daytona 24 every year because it's the only 24-hour race that I feel like we should have won, the IMSA event that I haven't won. So going to keep trying to chase that one. We had a great run of this past year with myself, Spencer, Anthony, and Ethan, and we'll see what the team obviously ends up being like in another 9 months or whatever. But for now, going to stay on the bucket list, and I enjoy the track and pretty much everything I drive there. Navara, we're going to put Navara in must drive. This is the track that has surprised me the most the last couple of years on iRacing. It's my second favorite road course behind Summit. I'm not going to lie, or free track that is at least. When they released this track, I don't even know where it is. Is it in Spain or Portugal or something? I don't know where the hell it is, but this track is amazing. I didn't know anything about it until they released it. I went out there and it clicked immediately. I ran one race in the Mustang and PCC with it, loved it. I ran it again in Mustang Cup, loved it. I ran it in the rain, I loved it. Run all the versions in slow cars, fast car, well, not super fast cars, but I've driven a lot of cars here and I love it and everything. Ethan and I in week 13 drove here in Legends cars. It's an amazing track. I mean, it's got so many different corner profiles. It's technical but fast. You have to be precise, yet you can be aggressive. The off tracks can be buggy in a couple areas, but that's not the end of the world. I mean, you just gotta know where those are and be smart there, and obviously not drive off track. Um, I think it's amazing. It's an amazing track. If you don't like it, it's probably because of the weird 1, 2, 3, 4 corner section. Again, it's semi-technical, but there are still some fast bits and some good corners, some big brake zones. Um, I just think it's an awesome track. It's an awesome track for learning. It's an awesome track for driving, for wheel-to-wheel racing. Like I said, slow cars are fun there, fast cars, open wheel cars, fendered cars. I really enjoy that track. So it's been a huge surprise to me how much that track has been enjoyable to race on, and I highly recommend it. I can't recommend enough. If you've never driven at Navarra, if you're not even a road course guy, go drive it because I absolutely adore that track, and I think it's a great circuit for from what I know, it provides great racing and it's always put on good racing, and I've always really enjoyed driving there. Crandon's up next. This is my home dirt road course, hour and a half north of me, northwest of me. I'm going to put in like, I'd put it in must drive because it's my home track, but again, it's dirt road. It's an off-road circuit. I've never been there in real life, which I need to change. I don't know why I haven't been there in real life, but no matter. I really like it. It's a fun track to drive. I enjoy the short circuit especially. The long circuit's fine. It just kind of feels like they add that bit of the track just to make it longer for lap time because all the important stuff, the exciting bits, all happen in the short circuit. So the Land Rush start's a weird, quirky feature to it, but it's still a lot of fun, and I definitely really enjoy it. So I'm gonna put it in like it's a lot of fun, and if you like dirt road stuff, off-road stuff, in my opinion, that's the best of the bunch. So love that place. Lamar, I'm gonna put in take it or leave it. Again, it's a historical place. It's really, everyone in the world knows Lamar for the most part. It's a good track, but I don't really love it. I've run a couple 24 hours of Le Mans. I've run a couple other things there. Um, I don't feel like if you don't buy it, you're missing anything. Most of it's just high-speed stuff with big brake zones into tighter sections. There are a couple technical sections at the end with the Ford chicanes, the Porsche curves. Indianapolis is a tricky section, but other than that, it's basically Mulsanne corner, the backstretch chicanes. Yeah, it's not a bad track. It's just unless you care deeply about enduro racing and prototype and GT racing and stuff, it's not like anybody's premier track. No, I don't think anybody thinks this is the best track in the world, and don't get that confused with the greatest track in the world. Some people might think it's the greatest track in the world, but I don't think this is anybody thinks this is the best like race course in the world. So it's fine. I enjoy it. I enjoy it when I get to drive it. Again, Dave and I drove it in that GT4 league, and I had a great time, but it wasn't A plus or anything by any means. It's okay. Magny Cours, I think this might be in France. I don't know for sure though. Never driven it. Probably won't on the sim. Um, it's not bad. It's fine, but don't know anything about it. Spa 24, or Spa, I guess. I'm gonna put in don't like. It's fine. I don't hate it. It's just, again, one of those tracks that's just kind of there. Everybody loves this because it's a grade one Formula One track again. Blah blah blah. Historical. You know, woo woo, whatever. I don't know anything about it other than that, really. Let's see, 1985, it was that Stefan Beloff died here in the 1,000 kilometers or whatever the race was, 10,000 kilometers at Spa, whatever that was, driving a Porsche. What else do I know about it? That one dude, Hubert, died in F2 there. I don't really know anything else about it. In 2021, they had the farce of a race that was 2 laps behind the safety car before they called points for it, and Verstappen won, and that was that. Russell was second. I think Hamilton was third, if I remember correctly. But it's a good track. It's not a bad track. They've definitely improved it, I think, with the rescan, making it a little bit easier to pick up 1Xs and off tracks and more gravel, less runoff, because that was the track that came under all the scrutiny twice, actually. One for driving through the grass with your side tires down some of the long straights for tire cooling. And before Enduros counted for iRating and safety rating, this was one of the catalysts of them implementing that. Because before you just extend like Blanchimont Corner in a GT3 car, you just extend out 50 car widths, out to the right, and every fast section you just use all the tarmac, pick up 1,000 incidents. But because there were no slowdowns at the time, because there were no penalties for incidents, because there was no safety rating in effect, all the pro teams just basically threw the track limits out the window, and that was a big reason they changed it. But it's a fine track. It's just, again, I don't find anything particularly special. Eau Rouge and Radion is obviously a great section that's known around the world among race fans, but the rest of it, while fun, is not particularly special. Lebanon, not one of my favorite free road courses. It's fine. It's not awful. It's not down on the Winton or Snaraton level, but it's close. It's not fun. The last corner section, especially the first corner section, is really weird. It's like a quadruple apex left-hander. The last corner section with that kind of right turn into a heavy braking left turn and right up the hill, it really encourages you to dive bomb and drive in too hard and push out wide, which isn't cool. Again, there are some interesting corners there, but it's pretty blind, honestly. So when some slow cars that sit low to the ground, like the Solstice or the GR86, it's very difficult to see and be precise. Um, it's fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's definitely in the bottom third of free tracks for me. But it's just one of those tracks that, never excited to visit there, but unlike Snaraton and Winton, I probably would drive it. If PCC was there, I wouldn't automatically take a drop week. So I think it's fine. Some people really like it, but I don't think anybody loves it. And that kind of goes to show you that it's not a great track if nobody loves it. So be it. Now we have a huge list of tracks that I don't own here. Zolder, I don't own. That's second most known road course in Belgium. Top Gear was here against the Germans when James May beat the Porsche guy. What the hell was his name? Tim Strick. Tim Schrick? Schrick. That guy, he was a factory driver and stuff for a while, and obviously was on Top Gear Germany. They held that there. Don't really know much else about it. There was a fatality there, but I can't remember who it was. It might have been Gilles Villeneuve. I'm naming fatalities for this track I don't know anything about because I don't know what else to tell you about it. So I think it was Gilles Villeneuve that died there. Maybe not. Correct me if I'm wrong. That would have been 82, 83, somewhere in there. So that's Zolder. Don't own it. Chicago Street Course. Everybody knows that for Van Gisbergen's win there in the inaugural. Haven't been, even though it's only a 3.5 or 4 hour drive. Maybe I should go, but it seems like it rains every year for whatever reason on 4th of July weekend. Maybe I'll go if they keep it on the calendar for a long period of time. But um, yeah, didn't own it on the sim. Don't find it terribly interesting. It's a street course again, which have never really been my thing. So gonna pass on it. Zandvoort, Verstappen land, home of King Verstappen. Um, Again, some interesting corners here, especially the banked corner, turn 3, whatever it is. Seems like a pretty fun track. People seem to give it pretty high marks and positive reviews. I don't know if that's, again, the Verstappen fandom coming through or the rescan or the fact that it is a pretty fun flowing track. But it's, again, not for me. It is not being a big sports car fan, top level sports car fan in Europe, and not being a Formula One diehard that races a lot of Formula cars. People seem to like it, but it's not for me. I don't know if they made it free, I'd probably try it and I enjoy it, but for now it's just going to be there. Don't have any plans to buy it. Mugello, I think it's Mugello. Again, another track I raced a lot back on Forza 4 a decade or more ago, I should say. Seems like a fun track. I don't have any plans to buy it, never driven it on the sim. I liked it on Forza, but didn't ever fall in love with it, didn't think it was amazing or anything, and so again, I don't race a lot of GT cars or anything like that, so I don't have any plans for it. If PCC ever goes there, maybe. Algarve or Portimao, a track that was on a couple of Formula One seasons. I think this is a really interesting track, actually. The 1,000 kilometers of Portimao is going to be a Proto GT special event enduro race coming up there in a couple of months, I think. I think it's sometime over the summer. Um, no plans for me to drive in it right now, but who knows? We'll see. Maybe we'll put some teams together and see how that goes. But not for me. So it is what it is, but it looks like a really fun track. I think it's an interesting track. There are a lot of good corner sections, and it seems like a track that, again, people give pretty high marks to. But again, not racing the kind of cars that visit there regularly. I'm just going to take a pass on that for now. Hockenheimring, pretty recent purchase for me, actually. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in like. I don't love it, but I do like it. It's a good track. Um, a fairly recent purchase I bought for PGT a couple seasons ago. I think PCC might have been there or is going there. I don't remember. But I like the track. It's got some interesting quirks to it and some interesting layouts, but I enjoyed it much more than I thought it would. There are a bunch of little test infield section-y bits that I think are pretty cool. So um, yeah, I mean, that seems like a fun track. I've enjoyed what I've driven there so far, so I'll like it. Cadwell Park seems like a terrible track. I don't know why anybody would want to drive here. PCC came here, multi-class with the GT4. It's tight, it's narrow, it's short. It looked like a disaster. It sounded like a disaster, and I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. I mean, Mazda Cup, GR Cup, Legends Road all seemed like they could be feasible, but PCC was a terrible idea. But I don't own it on a sim. Never will buy it. It looks awful. If it's your local club track, fine. Hope you like it. Not for me. Just not my kind of thing. Charlotte Road Course, the Roval, both the good one and the Legacy. Sorry, CR2. I'm going to put it in take it or leave it. CR2, this is his favorite track. He races everything here anytime, always. Any chance he gets, he just adores this place. But I think it's fine. It's good. I enjoy it, but it's not special to me. Again, having gone to this track in real life, the Roval in 2019, when Chase Elliott hit the wall in turn one and then still went on to win. Super cool. Adam and I were sitting about 8 rows above, right where that happened, right at the turn one wall. And we had a blast. I loved it. But on the sim, it's just, I like it. I've had pretty good success there, honestly, but I've never fallen in love with it. I've never felt like it was some amazing track that I, had to try to drive in real life for a track day or anything like that. It's just kind of there, and I like it. And I've had some good races there. I've had some bad races there, but nothing that really stands out like crazy. So it is what it is. Iowa road course, I'm going to put in don't like. Very short track, just kind of comes off the backstretch, a little kink into the infield, and a hairpin turn, quick chicane, another couple of hairpin turns, a little bit of a straightaway, another hairpin turn puts you out of turn four right at pin and tree back on the front stretch. Amazingly, IMSA or Grand Am, again, whatever, Grand Am ran here about 20 years ago. They ran, I think, maybe just one race here in 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. I don't know how they ever thought that was a good idea, even for the Riley DP, which was significantly slower than all the prototypes we have today. But I mean, it's a very, very strange track, and it again never really appears on any official schedules for sure. And it's not great as far as rovals come. Very, very tight, very technical. There are no real curbs. This is still a track with flat curbs, two-dimensional curbs. But it's a road course and it's a quirky kind of weird option that could be a lot of fun in like a hosted race or a league race or a club race, especially with slower cars or a car that you don't expect to race here. But as far as official stuff goes, you'll probably never see this on the official schedule, rightfully so. And we are down to what I believe is the last track. Again, if I missed anything, I apologize, but I think I got everything. How are we doing on time? 1 hour 7, so we're right about where we need to be. We're going to be a little bit shorter than the oval video actually, which is fine. Brands Hatch, again, I think this is everything. I think I got everything, but if I didn't, I apologize. Brands Hatch, we're going to put it in to take it or leave it. I've enjoyed some of my races there. Um, Not A plus by any means. I don't love it, but it's a good track. I enjoy it. I enjoy the different corner types. I actually like the Indy circuit a little bit more. But I've driven a lot of stuff there. I've drove the old Mustang there. I've driven supercars there in the rain. PCC's been there a couple times. I've driven stuff in. It's an interesting track. I don't hate it, don't love it. It's good. I like it. So I think it's a good addition to the sim. I'm glad that it gets some love. The rallycross track I've never driven, but I've heard it's absolutely awful. So, if that's the case, so be it. Again, not a huge rallycross guy outside of the places I know well, like Daytona and Phoenix. But that's that. So here's my list. Tell me about the 20 or so road courses that I have never driven and don't own. Let me know if any are really good or I'm missing out or worth my time that I should look into getting or testing out during downtime or week 13 or anything. Let me know why you're wrong about my hatred for Winton and Snarton. If you like these tracks, I'm sorry, you are incorrect. They're awful. And we can throw Lebanon in there as well. But let me know what you think about my list. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed all these videos with the car breakdown and the oval breakdown that you saw previously. Um, I enjoyed doing this. I hope it was cool. I hope it was fun. I hope it's a good discussion point. And any of you, those of you that I follow, several of you I follow on YouTube, do your own ranking list, put these all together, and make a list. And I'd love to compare my list to yours. So I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate you all so very much. Thank you for all your love and support. You all are wonderful, and I'm so thankful that I get to have these cool conversations and hear your sides of the stories as far as tracks and cars go on the sim. And hopefully we can continue to have good conversation and good discussion about stuff like this moving forward. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Again, appreciate all your love and support. But until next time, as always, bye bye.